welcome to my vlog for Mental Health Awareness Week, where I'm going to talk through a number of different things. I've got my cup of tea, that's going to come and go depending on how this gets edited. There's also a fly buzzing around, so that's going to be distracting for me. But that said, I've got a long list. I've got my notebook here of things I want to talk to you about. If there's a subject that you don't want to listen to, have a look in the description below. I've got the timings there so you can skip a chapter if that's not for you. So in no particular order, I'm going to talk about what does community mean and what does it mean to me. I'm going to talk about therapy. I'm going to talk about grief and my mental health journey in general. And I'm looking at my list of stuff because I've really had to think about what I want to say as well, because I don't want to open up to the world everything, because this could be days long otherwise. Yeah, the only other thing is some recommendations I'm going to give to you. So on the mental health survey that I shared on Virtual Sewing Room, I asked for recommendations that you might suggest to others that might be enjoyable, whether it's books, podcasts, whatever, a mantra. So I've got a few things that I'm going to share with you. And actually, is there a post-it note behind me? Yeah, I'm going to tell you what's on that post-it note, because that helps me. And that is years old now. So let's go to what is community. Community. So I had a look into the word because I was curious, and the word community has Latin origins and comes from Old French, but it was first used in the English language in the 14th century. That's the earliest that they can find. I feel a little bit like Susie Dent. If you don't know who Susie Dent is, oh, you're missing out. She's great. But the word community, it can refer to people living in the same place or particular characteristics in common, but it can also mean the condition of sharing or having certain attitudes and interests in common. And that's very much what the Mental Health Awareness Week is themed around, those people having that connection. And for me, the Virtual Sewing Room is a nice little community and a much wider community of people who enjoy sewing and crafting. And there's a bigger umbrella over that, which is just lovely people. No, there's craft, and then within that there's sewing, and then there's all these lovely little communities that are within that. So whether that's in-person socials, the frocktails, just friendships that are growing. But now that online is such a magnificent, but not always, place to meet people, and certainly through Instagram, the sewing community in general is just a fantastic place to connect, because you've got that one thing in common. It can bring you together. And so going to in-person socials, so I've only done a few. I've done workshops. I did the fold line when they did in person. That was my first ever social, and you're all there with a common interest, and it's just, you learn so much because you've immediately got one thing in common that you can ask, and you can go, did you make what you're wearing? You can ask, what are you working on? You've just got so many starting points, like what machine have you got, or what's your next project? There's so many starting questions that can initiate these friendships and talking to people. Or like, what scissors are those? I've not seen those before. Where did you get them? There's just sparking conversations that makes it so much easier to connect with people than if you've got a work thing when you've got to meet new people or networking. Oh my god. I've definitely had some really nice communities that I've been part of. The cycling world I was thinking about as well. I started cycling maybe 9 or 10 years ago, and as a beginner it felt very, you feel quite excluded from the wider picture, but actually there's some really nice little communities. Like when I worked as a team in Southampton, there was a few of us, we were all like-minded because we're very positive about cycling and transport, and I just felt like I belonged. Like we all were very different people, And even the charity I worked for, everyone with very different personalities, but there was, because everyone had the right, not right, had a similar frame of mind of doing good for the world, good for people, and had that same ethos. It was such a nice place to work in terms of that. It was, yeah, and I felt like part of the community there. So community is that hub of people where you can connect because you've got that deeper connection. It doesn't even have to be deep. Like, we like sewing, it's quite obvious. So yeah, I've had some really nice little communities, and definitely my little cycling world, and it's changed so much because it's been 8 years since I joined it. And yeah, but being part of a little community with, like I say, umbrellas, that's how I think of it. One little umbrella under so many others, and there are so many out there. And I mentioned in conversation with me, and being part of Emma from Studio 77's bag challenge recently. Such a great community, considering it was a Facebook group that was open for 2 weeks. Like, it was like intense connecting with people, almost in a good way, Emma. And it was so supportive because you've got that underlining of everyone wants to make a bag, and even people who weren't able to make a bag were there, you know, cheerleading other people. So very well done, Emma, on that. It was like a quick fire community, like, but obviously she's there to get people buying her products as well. But it was excellent, just such a good vibe. And that's from someone who was sat here in a room alone. The power of the internet these days is exceptional for creating these kind of communities and being able to connect. So that's probably enough about community from me, because I feel like I am rambling now. So we're going to move on. So we're going to move on to my mental health journey. So I was trying to decide how much to share, but I was thinking about when I first kind of experienced kind of poor mental health, and that goes back to when it's either 16 or 18, but I know it was one of those changing points in life where I was either going off to college or off to uni, and I just felt very, unstable's not the right word, but you know, didn't know what I was doing with myself, and I've never really known that path, and that's part of the therapy journey I've taken. Just being unsettled and unknown that at that age, yeah, and then certainly a few times. So my first experience, 16, 18, no big traumas in my life at all, but this overwhelming feeling and anxiety. I'm an actual introvert, and I really have to put on my big girl pants to do stuff. Like, I have to overcome a lot of wanting to shy away. It is that thing, if someone cancels something, oh, hooray, I can stay at home. No, I like going to the Fold Lines in person thing, which was in Cambridge. That's a long drive for me. I stopped at a friend's house on the way, but spending like 2 full days with people who I didn't know, and some of them I followed on Instagram, that felt weird, seeing people in person, some of whom had inspired some makes, but really had to like put a face on and force myself to like socialise. Like, that was a major thing, and there was a lot of anxieties, but I have to overcome it. It's like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I went through some stuff when I was about 21 after uni as well, and then from about late 20s, early 30s, that's when I've been in a constant kind of friends with my mental health, I guess, like being very aware of things. So in 2019 was kind of my lowest point. It was really significant. For a few months I had a mask on, and hindsight's a big thing with me because I have to digest information, sit with it, and then react. I'm not always good in the moment. So I sat with these emotions for a number of months, and then there were 3 things that kind of lined up and were like signs almost that were like, you need to do something. I saw a stand up where they were talking about their mental health, and I related a lot and could understand what he was joking about, but like, yeah, a book I was reading. It was someone's journey into cycling, and they had an epiphany about stress at work and how they had to change it, otherwise they were just going to keep going in a circle. There was something there to me that was like a light bulb as well. And a friend during Mental Health Awareness Week did a series of tweets who they opened up about their mental health, and as a friend, as one of their closest friends, I had no idea. We didn't see each other that often at that point, and it's been a game changer for our relationship. We're quite open talking about mental health. We check in on each other, and yeah, them doing that was like oh, they're not okay. I don't think I'm okay. So I did one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, like proper big girl pants. Through my work at the time, they had a helpline if you had any problems. So it's an external people, like a health, it wasn't health, but you could call them for financial advice, family advice, and general mental health as well. So they had loads of things you could go to them for that was external to the workplace. And so I took myself to the park, and I sat on the grass and I called it. I spoke to a lady called Sharon, who helped me reflect on what I was going through in my head and outlined it. And I remember all the names of the people I've spoken to, my therapists, because they've been so useful. So Sharon, who I spoke to once while sat in a park, and she just laid out my options, like, you either do nothing and this carries on, you speak to someone at your workplace because it was work related, and you do something, and what's the worst thing they're going to do? Are they going to turn around and ignore you, sack you, or are they going to listen and do something to help you? And the reaction my manager at the time gave was just, such a relief. Like, they were excellent, and I've told them this multiple times since. When I became a manager, I very much took on their attitude for just being very open. So yeah, thank you, Sharon, whoever you are out there on the end of a phone line somewhere. That was a game changer in a conversation I had to talking about my mental health. I then went on to have therapy for 2 months. Just as I was feeling really like myself again, that's when my dad suddenly passed away. Just literally the day after I had a therapy session after he passed away, and I was at the point where I was like, I don't know what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Yeah, I still went to that appointment because I was still processing all the information of what had happened, and yeah, I still went to therapy. Bizarre on hindsight. So then I carried on with therapy, and then when my mum passed 6 months later, I'd got into a really good place, but then I had to seek out a new therapist at that point. And yeah, I checked in with myself to make sure that I was okay, because it was quite sudden and we had to care for her, and that was hard in a very different way, like so different. And March is a very hard month for me because of my mum and Mother's Day and her birthday. Of course, that's all in March. So actually, for the first time in 24, I actually found a therapist, a different one, and I tried BetterHelp. So, and I found someone who was good on there, because I knew February was bad, so I started seeing them in February. I knew March was bad, saw them in February, through till May to check in on myself, because March was so hard. Yeah, so I am very self-aware of things when I know I'm going to be low. This March was the first one that I felt okay through, probably helped by being away for the first week. Yeah. There's been highs and lows, but I'm more self-aware of stuff. I know what might trigger me. I know my anxieties. I still need big girl pants to get me doing stuff. I know in my nature I'd rather just sit, curl up in my pyjamas and my dressing gown and hide away, but life's too short. Yeah, so I'm going to shout out to all the therapists I've ever spoken to because they deserve a thank you. So there was Catherine was the first one at uni, then there was Linda after uni, then there was, who was next? Jane. She's amazing. She's a 10-15 minute walk away, and it was so nice to have someone close because the walk back I could reflect, and just that time to process that last hour, it was highly recommend having a therapist or something that's good for you and having that walk, whether it's back to your car, park a bit further away or whatever, or go for a walk and then go back home. I love that I did that for myself, like, yeah, and Jane was worth it. Jane, then I had Claire, and then I used BetterHelp. The first lady on there, not so great, but the second one, oh my god, I can't remember her name. I can see her face. She was excellent as well, and I really appreciated her. And obviously there's Sharon on a helpline, and there's been a couple of other helplines I have called on a one-off. I'm going to talk about therapy. So this section, I'm going to go straight into therapy. I wanted this as a separate section, but obviously I've spoken about it before. I have dabbled. I've had friends before who haven't had a great experience at therapy, and I do believe that you've got to find the right person and the right approach. So I've done it in person and online, thanks lockdown. BetterHelp is an app. If you've not seen it, you can. It's the functionality of it is great. It's really costly, so I'd rather do an in-person than BetterHelp. In-person therapy, you've got to find the right person, and in the UK there's a really good database of counsellors out there. Depending on what you want to talk about, you can see what they specialise in or have experience of going through. I was really lucky that I found one that was local to me, so I could do that walk home afterwards to decompress, to reflect. It wasn't a very interesting walk back from theirs to mine, but it was the process of that. And I would take different routes depending on how much time I needed. I could make the walk home much longer to process, especially if it was a nice day. There are lots of different therapy techniques out there. I've had friends who have one bad experience and they refuse to do it again, but you've got to find the right therapist. I think that's really important. The great thing that I found is they are a neutral person. They're there to listen, to guide you, reflect questions at you, and that's been really, really useful. There's just remembering some of the things that I've been asked, that are really good prompts. So you've got to find the right one for you. I've been very lucky that out of the people I've seen, they have really helped. Like, there's on BetterHelp, so you can change your therapist when you need to. So I had one person, I think twice, maybe 3 times, and they were just repeating the same thing and it wasn't progressing what I needed. So I changed, and that particular person actually that I changed to, they do therapy but also they're an artist, so that was really nice, kind of thing that we had in common that we could come back to, and had some really nice creative ideas that we could reflect on that might help me. So I'm a big advocate of therapy, but I'm very aware it's not for everyone, and you've got to find the right person for you, and there's loads of different types of therapy, so it's worth having a look at what you might need to help you. That's a little bit about therapy. So I also wanted to talk back a bit about grief. So I mentioned I lost both my parents and 6 months apart. It's the biggest trauma I've probably been through. I am very fortunate that I didn't lose anyone. I've lost grandparents. Yeah, losing my parents, they were the closest people that I've ever lost, and to have that at 30, I'm very grateful. I know people who've been through that many years before 30, so I'm grateful. So we lost Dad very suddenly in October 2019, and then Mum in the April 2020 during COVID. So processing their deaths was really different experiences, and chatting to someone recently about their grief they're going through, like you can't compare the grief from one person to the next. Whether I'm grieving for a parent and you're grieving for a parent, that's going to be different. And my grief for both my parents have been a very different set of emotional roller coasters, very different. There's different circumstances. Obviously, the pandemic was a big factor in being able to process my mum's kind of illness and passing away. The funeral looked very different to what my dad's did, unfortunately. So it was, very strange times, but there have been a few things to have helped me through, and I'm really grateful for the therapy I started getting in 2019, which made me a much better person to deal with both passings. But one of the biggest things, which is on my big list of recommendations for grief, is the Griefcast podcast, hosted by Cariad, Lloyd. She's also written a book. I was going to bring it upstairs with me, but I forgot. You Are Not Alone, and if you know, she's a comedian. She does a lot of improvisation as part of a Jane Austen themed group, Ostentatious. It's great, I've seen it. The book is very much her. It's not a highbrow book at all, no offence. It's written as her, like from her experience, and she calls it a grief mess, which is wonderful. And yeah, I highly recommend that if you're going through grief. It's very relatable. She lost her dad at 15, and the trauma she talks about it very openly on her podcast. And what's really nice is she talks to lots of kind of comedians, actors, all sorts, kind of in the I say famous, but known faces. And all the different griefs, so they name the person they're going to be talking about, or persons. And the person, there was a particular episode I related to an actress comedian, and her grief she was going through was very different to in terms of relation and their death to mine. But there was a few things that they said and it just clicked, and it really helped me. I binged a lot after Dad passed, and it helped me understand the process, and it was really helpful. It was like the most worldly friend, just giving me all their experience all at once. But my husband was a bit worried that I was binging a bit too much. I think I was okay, but I understand where he was coming from. So yeah, it's worth dabbling. And the first episode is with Adam Buxton, who is an excellent podcaster, but he talks very well about his mother's death, and he does come back and talk about his dad's. Wait, it might be the other way around. I think it's the other way around. I think he lost his dad first. So yeah, he's a really good one to start with, but she doesn't do it anymore, but it went on for a few years, so it's a very excellent podcast if you're going through grief. And her book, get it from the library or your local bookshop. Highly recommend. So that's quite a lot. I hope you've found it interesting or found relatable things. I think I've rambled a bit, so we'll see how this comes out in the edit. But we're going to go on to jollier things, recommendations, and oh no, wrong way around, Jenny. Positivity, and there is tea. Another great thing to follow is an Instagram account called Happiness Broadcast. I recommend that. It's really nice when a post pops up because they're always very colourful and they bring positive news that's happening around the world. most often it's endangered animals who are repopulating or doing really well in the wild. So, but there's other stuff, just really positive news, people who do great things, or advances in particular medicine, or the world, making the world a slightly nicer place. So I do recommend Happiness Broadcast on Instagram. And the irony, after recommending a social media account, is also something that I do every few months, is just decluttering the newsletters and unsubscribing and also unfollowing people that don't bring me joy on social media. So I have in the last week unfollowed someone that just wasn't bringing me joy. So you need to Marie Kondo your Instagram or Twitter or whichever platforms you use. Remove yourself from groups, whatever, just because feeds, you never know what's going to come up these days with the algorithm. So I unfollow those that just aren't. I've had to unfollow, and you can hide people's feeds so you're still following them but it's not coming up for you. So I recommend doing that, because I know I'm not going to see particular people's content because I want to follow them, and I'll take that off when I need to. But so when I was going through grief, I followed a lot of grief related accounts, but I needed to then stop. Like, I was okay, I didn't need that reassurance, so I then had to unfollow them because it was better for me. Something I did when I was in therapy with the lovely Jane, at the back of my notebooks I had one that I took with me to therapy to write down notes and feedback and stuff, and one that I just did some entries into if I was feeling low. But on the back page I wrote a list of positive things that I can do that bring me joy. So going for a swim, painting my nails, making something, knitting, watching Parks and Rec. Just a whole page, I just filled it. I didn't do it in bullet points, I just did every line, I filled it with things, just a little bullet point between each, and just filled a whole page of joyful stuff. And then you can open that page when you need to and go, yeah, I'd love to go for a swim. I'm going to go to that pool that I really like and just give myself, even if it's 15 minutes and you go there and you do that, like, hopefully that'll bring a bit of joy. You can just have that page of joy that you know's there, and if you need a pick-me-up, you know there are these little things. And like painting your nails is such a small one, but on a Sunday night before a week at work, it'd just be a satisfying thing just to know, whether it's my toenails or my fingernails, that I just, a little bit of joy just knowing that you've painted your nail. Like, for me, that's a little proper good pick-me-up, like that. Or going to a local bakery, finding baked goods. It's dangerous because you should just buy one, but it's never just one. The final thing is reach out to someone you haven't spoken to in a while, whether it's someone you speak to all the time and it's been a few days, whether it's someone it's been a few weeks, but someone that does bring you joy, that you're just like, how are they doing? Drop them a message, like, go do that now. However you normally communicate, just say, hey, how's it going? Like, what's up? Or maybe you've screenshotted something you intended to send to them. Send it. Like, this is your prompt to go speak to someone that you love, brings you happiness and joy, and just touch base with them. Like, go do that. Like, I know once I finish filming, I'm going to go touch base with Andrea, my sewing sensei, because it's been a while. We're rubbish, so I'm going to go send her a message saying hello, find out what she's up to, if she's got sunshine in Birmingham and all that. So go find someone who, you know, you don't have to talk about your mental health, just say hello. That's all you need to do. So I recommend going to do that. So yeah, coming to the end now, and that's been quite a whirlwind of mental health, grief, community, but having some good people around you is really important. And I say people, that can be one person that you know is your go-to person. I know I've got my go-to people, which really was emphasised going through grief, the good people out there in my life. So thank you to them. Thank you for being part of the virtual sewing room community. I love making with you. I may not want to talk about mental health on a session, but do feel free to reach out in slide into my DMs if you ever want to say hello and have a chat. And yes, I look forward to going through and spend the rest of the day going through your responses to the mental health survey and start collating a video for Sunday. So take care wherever you are. Oh, I didn't show you my post-it note. This is one of my mantras. Sorry, I totally forgot. So this is something that I wrote down a few years ago. One thing at a time. Very important. I'm going to make this, I think, into a banner at some point and have it on the wall rather than just a post-it note. One thing, one moment at a time, guys. Take care. Bye.